Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. This is a bonus reading. I thought I would take some time and take a look at Florida and the elections. So if you're seeing this video first, there was a video released Friday morning titled "And So It Finally Begins." So that's about Pierre Navarro and about the January 6th committee's hearings and how they're going to be received. So if you haven't seen that one, please do so. Okay, so Florida, a lot going on in Florida. We've got Desantis running. We've got, Dennings going after Rubio. We have a lady named Rebecca Jones going after Matt Gaetz. So let's just see what we can see, shall we? To my new subscribers, thank you so much for being here. To my established subscribers, of course, I adore you. For the comments, the donations, amazing. And thank you so very, very much for both. And the thumbs up are awesome. For those of you interested in a private reading, in the drop box below, you will see an email address. Just send me a quick note asking for reading information, and I will send it out to you. It is at soulprint888@gmail.com. Here we go. Let's start with Desantis. His primary, the guy that's running, is most likely to run against him. I don't think the Democratic nominees have been established, but it looks like this Charlie Crist is likely to be running against him. I hope I have that right, because I know there's like a Nikki Fried and there's somebody else, but we'll focus on Desantis and see what 2022 in Florida looks like, because this is the thing. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know darn well that Desantis doesn't care about Florida in 2022. What he cares about is is Washington 2024. He's going after the White House. So let's take a look and see how things are going to go for him politically. Come on down. I have a question. Here we go. DeSantis election 2022. DeSantis election 2022. DeSantis election 2022. What do we have? Okay. So, from what I can understand, and I don't put a lot of weight in polls, but I do sort of pay attention when poll numbers start moving. So apparently DeSantis's numbers are on the upswing in sort of head-to-head polling with him and Crist. Apparently he holds a high single-digit lead. That might be a little old news, but it's somewhere in that area. And these cards are, not really great if you want him to lose. So let's take a look at these and then we'll see what else the cards have to say. He has become, I'm going to use the word successful, in quotations, by riling up people's emotions, getting the moms upset, getting the parents upset, getting everybody upset about everybody else, and forcing through laws. about it. Okay, so don't say gay. The fighting against Disneyland or Disney World. The critical race theory, which is not a thing, but people in Florida seem to think it's a thing because he told them it's a thing in the schools. Now, the fact that a lot of these ridiculous sort of laws are getting struck down in court doesn't mitigate the fact that he got the publicity that he was looking for and he riled up the base. It doesn't sort of matter if after the fact, because this is the thing, right? Nobody actually pays attention to the correction. Okay. So, he gets what he needs from that initial push and shove. Now, there are a lot of people who are very upset with him. They are upset with him about, yelling at school kids about wearing masks. They're upset with him about sort of abortion issues. They're upset with him about the way he handled COVID. And it's an astounding thing that despite so many, many, many lives being lost, as we're moving away from COVID, people's memories are short. And speaking of which, hold on here. I'm really sorry, people of Ontario. Okay, I'm really sorry. I was not getting information that Doug Ford was going to win another election as premier. He has done so. I'll say prayers. Sometimes I'm not right, but wow. And exactly that, right? He's so screwed up, COVID, but people are feeling better and they're running around without masks. And so memories are short. Anyways, I apologize. Going down. Okay. So, and for right now, he has kind of the wind at his back. Okay. The fact that he has created those gale force winds at his back on hot air and made up social issues and woke issues is, it's sort of almost irrelevant right now. It's not really playing into what's going on with him. The people in Florida who are Republicans, some independents, perhaps even some Democrats, certainly, Desantis has done a really good job attacking Biden about, inflation that he's not responsible for, and the war in Ukraine, which he's not responsible for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and a shortage of baby formula, which I really don't think Biden is responsible for. Maybe the administration could jump quicker, but DeSantis is doing a hell of a good job, with a lot of hot air, with a lot of talking. He's building momentum. And the thing with him is that there really doesn't appear to be a low that he won't go to, okay? He will beg, borrow, steal, cheat, whatever it takes. He wants to win. And what's so crazy is truly, even if he wins a second term as governor, he's only going to be there for 2 years because he's going to be very busy running for president. In fact, he's already running for president, okay? Anybody who actually thinks DeSantis is currently running in Florida for Florida, you're not paying attention. He's running to be president. Now, there are going to be some sort of struggles that he's going to have to deal with. And some judgments sort of being rendered on decisions he's made or behaviors. But I have to say right now, it appears as if he is still in a relatively strong position. However, it looks as if there may be more Democrats voted in to the state legislature, which would act as a sort of slowing down or a bit of a deterrent to some of the insanity. Okay. But at this point, unfortunately, people of Florida, he looks pretty solid. I, of course, am going to revisit this. Make no mistake, though, I mean, the next 6 months or so are not going to be a cakewalk exactly for him, because there's a lot of friction and stuff going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of stressors going on. And even though, this Charlie Crist guy, it's a bit of an uphill battle, right? Because he used to be a Republican, and, and he's sort of campaigning on the, I didn't leave the Republican Party left me, and that's how come I don't know if he's running as a Democrat or an independent, but that's sort of what he's going with. He's going to make some headway. It's not like he's going to be, like a non-issue. At this point, though, I just can't tell you if he's going to come out ahead. It really does feel like it's going to be, 50-50, 60-40, 45-55. Like, it just feels like it's going to be a little bit of a tug of war. And frankly, I also want to say at this point, it kind of looks like enough people aren't kind of paying attention. The election or something, you tend to focus on after Labor Day. And that's just the way it is, right? Unless you're kind of, really, really following politics closely. So for right now, he's definitely got strength going behind him. He definitely has all this hot air blowing behind him and pushing him forward. But I don't see this actually as a done deal. Okay, I don't see it as a foregone conclusion. They're also going to be, he's going to, this is the thing about him. You think he can't say anything more outrageous than he does. But there are some of the stuff that's actually going to come back and really hurt him. Okay, it's really going to knock some of that hot air out of his sails, if you will. So that's what we're looking at for Desantis. I wish I could tell you something super positive, like, he doesn't have a hope in hell, but I don't think I can tell you that based on these cards. I'm going to ask my pendulum right now. And maybe my pendulum can give me a bit of a long-range forecast here. Okay, so as I decide, can tell the pendulum is ready to talk. Pendulum, at this point, is Ron DeSantis likely to win another term as governor of Florida? Okay, so it's a yes, but it's a little yes. Is Charlie Crist going to be able to give him a real run for his money? Like, is he going to put up a good pushback against him? And that's getting, as you can see, a much stronger yes. Is DeSantis going to make a run for president in 2024? Is that his intention? Yeah. Okay. So I heard today that the thing with Disney is likely to end up costing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to each resident of Florida. This is a disaster, and you know what? I don't think he's actually going to be able to get away with what he's trying to get away with. I don't know what the status of that is, but it seems to me that that could be very well be one of the things that just blows up in his face. I think it will also be really important for the stuff that he sort of enacted into law that isn't actually going forward in a way that is to his benefit. I think there needs to be some real conversation or announcements or publicity given to the fact that he's really not winning in the final analysis. All right, let's take a look at Marco Rubio and Val Dennings. So the thing about Val Dennings is she used to be, I think it was a police chief in Florida. I really like her. She's got nice energy. She's sort of no nonsense. She's only, unless I have this wrong, she was only elected in the last election as a representative. And so I'm not sure that she has the political power and savvy, perhaps, to go up against a Marco Rubio, who has been a politically corrupt darling nonetheless for a while. So let's take a look. I think this one I'm going to do sort of a face-off between the two of them. Election Denning Rubio, election Denning Rubio, election Dennings Rubio. Cheat note. I think that what you're going to see is that, Marco Rubio has name recognition, certainly. I think that he is going to be off to a pretty firm start. I also think that she is going to try to, how can I say this? Play fair. I think she's going to try to, keep this sort of civilized and polite and, without the garbage. At some point, she's going to figure out that unless she starts treating him kind of the way he deserves to be treated, based on some of the decisions and actions he's made, some of the things he's voted for as opposed to against, or against as opposed to for, she may find herself really having a hard time catching up to him. However, ultimately, it looks like she could very, very well give him a real run for his money at this point. She's going to need to do a little bit of soul searching to make sure that she kind of comes out swinging, if you will. And if she doesn't, she's going to need to put on those boxing gloves pretty darn quick, because there needs to be a real aggressive sort of stance against Rubio, because I don't know how he plays in Florida, but in some ways, especially lately, you just don't hear a lot about him, right? And so it makes me wonder if what he has to his advantage as he goes forward is the fact that he's a recognized name. He is the incumbent. You still have Florida being a pretty red state. And I think, again, for a lot of people who don't pay attention, they don't really have no beefs with him. It's kind of like, oh, I guess he's doing a good enough job. Okay, we'll just tick by the block because that's what we did last year and the year before, or last election and the one before. But she is not out of the race. She really isn't. I don't know what's Trump doing here. I suppose it's possible that he could endorse Rubio. I don't know how much Rubio did or didn't piss him off lately, but that's a potential. But it does look like as this thing goes on, Rubio's going to run into trouble. There's going to be some tough periods or times that he's going to need to get through. Likewise, Denning also needs to realize that she can't stay in a defensive posture throughout the course of this election, because that really does put her at a disadvantage. So, well, based on these cards, I'm kind of going to go out on a little bit of a limb and say that she stands a really good chance of pulling this off. But like literally, this could be one of those need to recount. Like it feels very, very, very close to me. Pendulum. Is Marco Rubio going to win the 2022 election that allows him to maintain his seat in the Senate? No. Okay, well, let's ask it the other way. Is Val Dennings going to be the new member of the Senate for Florida after the 2022 election? That's a yes. It's a small one, but it's a yes. So let's keep our fingers and toes and anything else we can crossed. And, hopefully she is able to, kind of take him by the collar a little bit and get in his face, because I really think that that's what's going to need to happen. Like I say, there's just something sort of, I don't want to use the word innocent, but kind of benign, maybe, about him. And as long as he stays under the radar for a while, he could actually, okay, I'll just say this way. It really looks like it's going to be a tough race. Okay, Matt Gaetz. So, Representative Matt Gaetz. So this is going to focus more on him because I actually want to know if he's going to get convicted first and maybe can't run, or perhaps, maybe he'll have to register as a sex offender, but, still run, because apparently the Republicans don't care. There's certainly been no formal reprimand coming from the Republican Party regarding the allegations against him and the investigation that is going on. The Democrat that's running against him is a lady by the name of Rebecca Jones. So Rebecca Jones was somebody who, she says, she was fired when she refused. She worked for the Florida, I guess, Board of Health. When she refused to slant the numbers so that it looked better for Florida. When she refused to sort of corrupt the information, she says she was fired. Desantis says, of course she wasn't. That's not what happened. But, nobody can actually believe anything that comes out of his mouth. So I tend to believe her. Anyway, she was quoted recently as saying that the worst thing about running against Matt Gaetz is she has to pay attention to Matt Gaetz. She has to follow his nonsense with Green. She has to follow the, investigation into these underage sex allegations. She has to follow, his sucking up to whoever he sucks up to. She has to pay attention to what Trump wants. She says it's like that's the hard part, honestly, is just having to focus so much time kind of in that energy. So I think maybe we should all start sending this poor woman some light to help rebuff some of that negativity coming at her. In fact, you know what? That wouldn't be a bad thing to do for Val either. These guys are fighting really dark forces, whether, anybody wants to hear that or not. And so it may be necessary to just give them a little bit of protection. Okay, so Gaetz versus Jones, Gaetz versus Jones, Gaetz versus Jones. Okay. It may be possible that by late summer or early fall, so like September, which I guess technically is still summer, there may actually be indictments, charges, whatever it is, that come to bear on Matt Gaetz. If that is so, the trouble, the problem, the issue is that there is not going to be he's not going to have his day in court until after the election. And so he will be able to use, even if there are charges or whatever they're called, even if he's going to be able to twist that and use it to his advantage. He's going to use, sort of the family name, family money, whatever it is. And apparently, though, however, Matt Gaetz had sort of raised about $4 million for his reelection. Apparently, $1 million of that has already been spent on legal fees. And I guess right now in the kitty is like 1.5 million approximately. So that's a good chunk of money, I guess. But whether it is going to be enough, I don't know. And again, this is one of those situations where the Democrats are going to have to, and it's not fighting dirty as much as it is just kind of really getting in their face and repeating over and over and over again the things that they have done politically and privately that really should weigh against them in an election. You can't sort of just mention it in passing. This is the thing. If we learned anything from the Trump era, we learned that if you repeat something often enough, it will be taken as truth, even if it's not. And so they can't just sort of mention these things in passing. It has to be a little bit more in your face and a little bit more aggressive than that. If there is not now, there will be. She'll start to feeling. Rebecca's going to start to feel momentum building as more and more people kind of focus in on the election. and are like, you know what, we need to get rid of this guy. He is just a real, like, deterrent. He is, he's not good for the image of Florida. A lot of people are not going to like the, because I think something's going to happen with regards to that investigation that's going to kind of put it in his face as we get closer. Looks like he's going to be playing a little bit of a defensive game, and it looks like okay, so it looks like he actually could be in trouble. So even with the Fool here, I'm actually not reading this for a change as a trump card, which regular viewers know I almost always do. I'm reading this actually for right now as a card representing Rebecca, and by that I mean she is willing to take that leap of faith. She is willing to, sort of risk it all to see if we can get this guy out of office. So that is, for her, that's a good thing. It's going to be, interestingly, there's going to be more information coming out, it looks like, about dark money, whether that is money that perhaps might have been spent in terms of paying for certain people or activities. It's interesting because when it comes to Gates, in a lot of ways, it really feels like ultimately women are going to have the upper hand with him. So I don't know if that is a prosecutor, a female prosecutor. I don't know if that is, female witnesses. But it looks like he's going to have some female trouble coming at him. And it also looks as if he is going to have money issues. Like there's not going to be kind of the robust fundraising that he hopes for. Putting your eggs in the basket of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump is a little questionable for everybody who lives in objective reality, for anybody who actually is paying attention to what's going on. So I think he's going to actually end up having some money problems. If you've already spent $1 million on legal fees and there haven't been any charges yet, what does that tell you? I think that Gates' time as a House Representative is coming to an end. This is the thing, though, and don't forget this. He's not really interested in politics, okay? He is interested in becoming a talking head for a glossy network. That's what he wants. He's using politics as a springboard, but not for bigger political ambitions, but for a different kind of more glamorous, if you will, career. That is his trajectory, okay? It's not about winning the race. It is about him being able to connect and kind of achieve his bigger dreams, the things that are more that are more important to him, frankly. And what's important to him is name recognition. It's having his face on billboards. It's having, some sort of a more glamorous, oh my God, career. Okay. That's what he's about. That's all this is about for him. I think he thinks that as a celebrity, as opposed to a politician, he is far closer to achieving what his ultimate goal is, which is not politics. Frankly, it doesn't look like he's actually smart enough to play politics even well. Okay. So this is really about him having a lot like Desantis, right? This is actually about him having other goals, and where he's at now and what he's doing now is simply a stepping stone. So that's the down low on him. Let's just ask a question or two. Are there likely to be charges or indictments? I don't know if those words are interchangeable, but you all know what I'm talking about. Against Matt Gaetz that we learn about, that become public before sort of fall of 2022. Okay, so it's a yes. It's not a robust one, but it's good. So that looks like that's really possible. Is Gaetz going to be able? Is Gaetz going to be reelected to his seat as in the House of Representatives? No. Yahoo. Rebecca Jones. Is Rebecca Jones going to win the election against Matt Gaetz? And right now that's looking like a yes. Well, that's kind of good news. And I think maybe a little surprising. Okay. So, continue to have a fabulous weekend. Thank you so very much for being here. As I said, if you haven't seen the video that was released earlier called So It Finally Begins, and So It Finally Begins, please take a look at that. Until next time, take care. Be well. I'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.